Every day, thousands of New Jerseyans cross a mile of water into Manhattan. From riverbank to riverbank, we are always looking out at the city. New Yorkers are always looking up. The skyline of Manhattan is more familiar to us. It is this vantage point that has connected a state to a city for centuries. New Jersey has always had its eye on New York. What happens there, from destruction to rebirth, we cannot escape. It stares us in the face. It shapes us. It is part of who we are. More than 2 million people commute into Manhattan most weekdays. Of those, at least 600,000 come from New Jersey.
Well, there is a certain unity between New York and New Jersey, a cultural unity. We share the same place of employment, we share the same places to eat, we share the same taste in food, the same taste in popular entertainment. A big popular show in Manhattan is Jersey Boys. But there's always that little friction. I think September 11th was a temporary respite from the family squabbling that brought us together, because we were all grieving and we all shared the same sense of loss.
It's 7 a.m., and Herbert Ouida leaves his home in River Edge, in the heart of Bergen County, headed for a bus to Midtown Manhattan. Every morning, the same solemn commute. 10 years ago, on September 11, 2001, Herbert's son Todd joined him. The men started their day on the train as they headed for jobs at the World Trade Center. Herbert worked for the World Trade Center Association on the 77th floor of Tower 1. Todd for Cantor Fitzgerald on the 105th floor.
We would walk to the train right here in River Edge and take the train into Hoboken. And in Hoboken, I said to Todd that day, why don't you take the ferry with me over? It was a beautiful day, that Tuesday morning. And he said to me, no, it's too cold or something. He didn't want to walk, that extra walk. So we separated. And I said to him, have a great day, sweetheart. And I didn't know it then, but that would be my last words to Todd. Have a great day, sweetheart.
Your mother's gone. 8695, good morning, have a good day. Hi, what's your number again, please? 8695. I'm on the 83rd floor. 86 what? I'm on the 83rd floor. Tell me 86 what? 8695. 8695. She at the World Trade Center. Someone having difficulty breathing on the 83rd floor. It's very hot. I see any air anymore. Okay. All I see is smoke. Okay, dear, I'm so sorry. Hold on stay calm with me. Stay calm. I'm gonna die, aren't I? No. I'm gonna die. Ma'am, say your prayers. And we're gonna think.
My friend's husband had called the office and said the plane went into the first tower. I didn't know, nothing dawned on me. And then he called back again because he was watching this and said the plane went into the second tower.
I looked up. I saw the towers were on fire. So instead of heading to my meeting, I don't know if it's the military in me. I was an Army medic, and years later I was a medical officer in the Air Force. But I felt these were my people that were hurt, and these were my people that were dying. So I headed to the towers, and when I got to the base of Tower 2, it came exploding down.
Lieutenant Brown, ladder 18, one of the towers just collapsed, Everyone's got to be inside of it.
Yes, we received that transmission. Ladder 18 saying one of the towers collapsed. There's got to be people inside it.
There's got to be thousands of people inside.
When I came to my senses, realizing I'm in a business suit, I only had 2 Band-Aids in my wallet. And I just started to cry because there wasn't anything I can do. I just started to cry.
I'm shaking, really scared. And someone says, we're going to die. I said, we're not going to die, we're going to live. And then someone says, there's no more World Trade Center. I didn't understand that. What did that possibly mean?
I said, oh my God, Dominique is down there today. And one of the nurses said to me, if anybody can get out, she can get out. She goes to the gym, she's in shape. I said, she's not coming home.
I couldn't do much to help anyone. So I went to Beekman, and I don't work down at Beekman NYU Downtown Hospital. I don't work there. I identified who I was, and they immediately said, you know, up on the 4th floor there's a conference room. If you can man that, we'll start sending patients up to you. And on this hard conference room table, I started sewing people back together.
The Twin Towers stood for 28 years. They were brought down in less than 2 hours. The attacks of 9/11 at the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, killed nearly 3,000 Americans. 700 of the dead called New Jersey home.
It's just so hard to remember after the events of 9/11. You just sort of, it becomes very difficult to remember anything before that. Dominique was an only child, and the best baby that you ever wanted to have for an only child. We would take her everywhere. She would go to anybody. She wasn't a clingy, crying. She was a very well-adjusted child. She was very outgoing. She knew how to work a room. She was the kind of person I always wanted to be. And I don't hesitate to tell anybody that I lost my daughter.
I didn't know Sis was in the towers. I remember there was really no more patients coming in about lunchtime. So I decided to go out and maybe see what I can do to help. And I kept still trying to call Sis. I remember I was so angry at her. I kept calling her at the office. I said, listen, Sis, where are you? You know, and she never answered. She never answered.
This is where Gordon Huie comes to remember his sister Susan. This shrine is called the Family Room, on the 20th floor of One Liberty Plaza, overlooking the World Trade Center site. The room is filled with photos of 9/11 victims. Some were moved from the streets of Manhattan, others brought over the years by family members.
I find a lot of solitude here. It's quiet, and when I come down here, whether it be at 7 in the morning or even 8 in the morning on a Sunday, it's very quiet here. It's really nice. It's a time where I can sit and reflect. And I look at all these wonderful people who are with Sis right now in this room during happier times. You can see all the smiles on these pictures.
This place, with its pictures, its flowers, and all these simple keepsakes that mean something to someone, seems frozen in time. It is one example of how our movement to memorialize began. We can't contain our loss to one place, within this room or within the confines of Ground Zero. Suffering travels with us. It ripples across the Hudson and takes root in every part of our lives. When we mourn in New Jersey, in Leonia, in Parsippany. When we remember in New Jersey. how we reflect can be as simple as holding a yearly brunch.
Because her friends were so responsive after 9/11, I just felt it would be wonderful for us to all get together on her birthday and celebrate her life. And they all responded positively, and I take them all out for brunch on her birthday and go around the table and have everybody tell me a story about Dominique that would either make my hair stand on end or just make me so proud of her. They've adopted me as a second parent, I guess, and I've adopted them as kids. It sustains me. I think I'd have nothing to look forward to if it weren't for knowing that they're going to be there for me on these special days, because otherwise it's just a birthday or it's, 9/11, and they make it special. They make it special. She would have made a difference.
I don't know how you deal with tragedy. Everybody deals with tragedy differently. And we have said, for us, it's more important to look forward.
As Herbert Ouida watched the second tower fall, he was convinced his son Todd had made it out, figuring his son would have had maybe 40 more minutes to make it down from the 105th floor. Todd was the youngest of 3. He'd suffered panic attacks as a child, so horrible he couldn't attend school for 2 years. But that he had overcome. Went on to graduate from the University of Michigan, got his first job at Cantor Fitzgerald. He was 21.
We have this memorial service, and we decide that we're going to tell Todd's story, and we're going to try to help children in his name, to transform the tragedy into hope. That's where the Todd Ouida Children's Foundation was born. It was born at that service. One of our highlights, I think, is a program known as Zippy's Friends. The program is an early intervention program. It trains teachers in the use of a curriculum that helps children to develop coping skills very early. The children are really learning how to articulate, how to express their own feelings around this, and learning that it's okay to have these feelings. We've donated $1 million in 10 years. That's $100,000 a year. It's not a lot of money, but it leverages. It's not the money we raise, it's the story we tell. That's our power. It's Todd's story.
2 steel beams sit atop a hill in Union County's Echo Lake Park. In Middletown, 37 stones line a red brick path. One for each of the community's residents lost on 9/11. The New Jersey landscape is now speckled with memorials, physical manifestations of grief. A father tells the story of a son. A community tells the story of a state.
There were newspaper clippings of the missing. There were flowers. There were candles. These were ephemeral events. There were storefront murals. With the passage of time, we've observed a more permanent construction of memorials. Nearly every township in northern New Jersey, every firehouse, every rescue squad has its own impromptu memorial. Often, these are done with pieces of scrap steel that were salvaged from the wreckage of the World Trade Center.
I think it's about remembering and understanding the loss that we had in our community. It's tough to talk about now, 10 years later. But these were our friends. You know, we didn't think it was that kind of a memorial that would be just built and put in place. We thought it would be something people would come to year after year and throughout the year, and people do come.
People just wanted to share in the experience. That's why they go. That's not likely to stop today or tomorrow.
Since 2002, Sandra Felt has devoted herself to the creation of a national memorial in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. where Flight 93 was crashed into the countryside. Her decision to do so was as personal as it gets.
My husband was the man on the plane who made the 911 phone call. And the FBI let me listen to it. And he was so calm. He was so calm in the face of death. How can I be calm in the face of living? And he would have done it for me. So how can I not do it for him? We actually met during freshman orientation. Third day there. The dating thing all started because we played racquetball. And we go play racquetball. And, you know, we kept playing racquetball very frequent. Every weekend we were playing racquetball. And finally I said, why do we keep playing racquetball? And he goes, because you got a great pair of legs, baby. So that's how it all started. And we started dating from then on. And it just worked for us. We wanted the crash site to be respected because it is a cemetery, okay? There still remains that come up from the ground. There's still things that come up. It is still sacred ground for us.
We sense a need to protect a place, to honor a life. We commit ourselves to remembering publicly and privately, even though at times it can be almost too hard to bear.
It's like an old scab, okay? You keep opening it and ripping it. And you know what? It still hurts each and every time. And the wound doesn't get to totally heal right.
Some days it's difficult to go on. And I want to pick up the phone and call her. Because we did talk on the telephone a lot.
Still, we choose to continue. We choose to dedicate ourselves to their memory. We choose to keep going because something inside our hearts senses they're still with us.
Sometimes a breeze will make me feel her walking by. I know I can say things and I can feel her smack me in the back of the head. Dorothy and I had a really real marriage. We had a roller coaster. Love you, hate you, but it was magnificent. She was an excitingly beautiful woman. On Christmas Eve, I was going over to my girlfriend's house to bring her Christmas gifts, and I went down to give my cousin Rose and Camille a kiss for Christmas, and I did. And then Dorothy, who was 3 years older than I, said, "Don't I get one?" I said, "Sure." As I went to kiss her one way, she went the other way, and our lips met. Oh my God, my stomach flipped. I fell in love, I know it. I drove over to my girlfriend's house, gave her gifts, I told her I'm sorry, I just fell in love, and I left. And the rest was history. It was magic. It was what I think what love was supposed to be, what all of the writers and the artists and the painters and the sculptors feel in their hearts what love is what we had. I get a call from my brother. He says, "Hey Nick," he said, "Donnie working today?" I said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I just heard on the news that a plane hit the towers." I says, "Oh my God." And for some reason or other, my heart just hurt. First night I came home, I always slept on, as if you face the bed, on the left side of the bed. Even when we had our two beds, my bed was on the left side. I automatically, just very calmly, just sat down on her side of the bed, took my slippers off, got under the covers and went to sleep, and have been sleeping on that side of the bed ever since. As a matter of fact, I have a pillow tucked on the other side to make me feel like there's somebody else there. It's a nice feeling. It's not an empty seat. It's a filled place.
Even with all our memorials and personal remembrances, we are still drawn back to the place of our deepest loss.
Even though I know she's at God's right-hand side in heaven, but she and the other 3,000 people who perished in 9/11, I strongly believe because they really didn't find everyone. So I still believe part of them are still down here. So I really believe that these grounds are sacred. But now that Sis is gone, it sounds pretty corny, but I still bring Sis her cup of tea. And even though I don't come down here every week anymore, I still come down here, and I don't want to disrupt people's routine downstairs in ground zero too much, so I usually just go there and I just pour a cup of tea for Sis. Spend a little time just praying and just thanking her for the privilege of knowing her, and thanking God that He allowed me to know her all my life. Not all her life, but all my life. Got to know her. Yeah, I miss her. I still miss her. 10 years later, I still miss her.
Gordon suspects no one is ever watching him during his ritual, because everyone is looking up, eyes focused on the sky as one World Trade Center takes shape. We are all connected to this place. We saw the destruction, and were invested in its rebirth.
Before 2006, there really wasn't anything located here in this area.
With the increasing interest in what happens to Ground Zero, tours have become part of the culture down here. Brian Branco, a World Trade Center survivor, has been giving tours with the Tribute Center for the past year. He travels from Lyndhurst, New Jersey to Ground Zero twice a month, because telling the story of 9/11 helps him cope with the guilt of having lived when his coworkers died.
My name is Brian. I worked on the South floor, 70th floor of the South Tower. The survivor's guilt itself, you kind of wonder why, why I'm here and they're not. But it wasn't my time, and I can say that now, 10 years later, it wasn't my time. It was simple as that. I really kind of started doing the tours basically to honor my friends. To me, you mention their names, that kind of puts a personal face to the story. It's not like buildings are falling. I mean, it's not like, the buildings fell, but 3,000 people died.
So if you look here at the center panel,
this is not fun to do, but people come all over the world, and from all over the world, and they want to know what happened. They want to meet somebody. They want to talk to somebody. And, to me, that's very important because they still come 10 years later. Steve was leaving with me, and he forgot something in his office. And I said to him, okay, I'll see you downstairs. And he didn't get out. Bob and Jill, Bob was vice president, Jill was the secretary, and they were trying to figure out what was going on. And they didn't get out. It's like Joan said before, 17,000 people worked there. 17,400 people worked there. 15,000 people got out of those buildings based on the fire department's rescue, which is, tremendous. Right now, because what's going on, the growth, the rebuilding, to me, the trees going in is tremendous. I mean, last year, when the first tree, last August, we were in the Cayman Islands, my wife and I, and they put the first tree in here, and they have New York City News down there, ABC, and we watched the trees go in, and we're sitting in a hotel room crying because they're putting a tree in here because it's the rebirth of the site.
In a massive construction site of metal and cement, where 5 new towers are being built at a rapid pace, oak trees, hundreds of them, are the truest signs of life. They offer a sharp contrast to the 2 gray granite reflecting pools they surround. These are the voids left by the Twin Towers. Hollow footprints whose waterfalls will help us to remember.
On September 11th, that Sunday morning, the people will be out here on the plaza for the first time. They'll see the trees on the plaza, grown in New Jersey. They'll see the bronze nameplates created in New Jersey. But the journey from what happened 10 years ago will never end. Children of those who we lost on September 11th, their children and their children will be able to come here to Lower Manhattan, see a project built by workers from New Jersey and New York, and see the names of their family members etched forever in bronze. That we are always remembering. We are always, thinking of what happened that day. And our job is to build something that is permanent, that will last. And whether that's a piece of steel at a fire company in my hometown of Hamilton, or the National 9/11 Memorial here in Lower Manhattan, that's what we're doing.
From across the river, we have taken in this scene, long enough to see ourselves reflected back. New York and New Jersey are inextricably linked. What happened there, we did not escape. 700 lives gone. A landscape changed forever. Their spirits kept alive through our rituals. Their memory now as permanent as the granite and steel we've used to honor them. In our shift from tragedy to hope, we will all move forward.
I can sit there and I can meditate, and the place is my own. But with the keys being handed over on September 11th, that's ending. And it is now a national place. It is no longer my place to go and grieve. It is now a place that belongs to the nation. And it's pretty wonderful to have been part of that, but I also understand that it's time to walk away from it. I've done what I set out to do 10 years ago. I've completed that. I'm really proud of it. But it's time to move on.
I have 5 grandchildren. It's a blessing. I've had 3 children. And we try to go forward every day. Some days are more difficult than others. After this terrible time in my life, I learned that no matter how difficult the situation is, you can overcome it with the support of family.
We understand that we will cope, but we will never forget.
Who honors Pearl Harbor? Nobody. Who honors Memorial Day? Nobody. Memorial Day is a long weekend, and I hate that. Labor Day is a long weekend, and I hate that. 4th of July is nothing. People don't have the meaning of it, and I hate that. Can't have that happen with 9/11.
And you're standing on it right now.
We won't forget, because it is staring us in the face, and our gaze is unwavering.